Welcome back to our study of Firm Foundations, Creation to Christ. We are now on Lesson 4. But before we get into that, we're going to do just a little bit of review. First of all, in our first lesson, we talked about what the Bible is. Simple answer, God's communication to us about himself. Various ways you could say that. God's Word, a personal letter from God to each one of us, telling us about him, telling us about who we are. Where did all the spirits that people talk about come from? That was in a previous lesson as well. God created all the spirits, all living beings, including spirits, and in the beginning they were good. Everything that we call angels or demons, in the beginning, they were all created good by God himself. What did God use to create the earth, planets, and stars? Obviously, from the Bible, he used absolutely nothing. By his own power, he spoke them into existence. God said, "Let it be," and it was perfectly created in an instant. What is the significance of the Bible teaching that God is spirit? This is important. We gotta get this one so we understand the difference between God and ourselves. The significance is that he is not limited by anything in the physical world like we are. The essence of who he is above us and beyond our complete understanding. Another aspect of that is God is absolutely independent from all of the physical creation. He doesn't need any of it to exist, to continue being able to live. He's independent from that. God is spirit. We are a physical being. What does it mean when we say God is sovereign? Another theme that it runs all the way through the Bible, that God is sovereign. He is the supreme authority. He's greater than everyone and everything, whether in the spirit or in the physical world. God is above it all. God is more powerful than anything. There's nothing that can battle against God and win. He's absolutely involved in every aspect and the controller of all of creation. Above us, separate from us, more powerful than any of us. Now we get into our lesson for today, lesson 4. God revealed his nature and attributes through his creative acts. We're going to be looking at the things that God created in Genesis chapter 1. We're going to find that God is the great designer. If you look at some and you see, oh, this is a cool design, well, a design implies that there was a designer that caused it to come into being. You look at design, you have to assume designer. Anything else is just scientifically ridiculous. But we're going to see how God displayed his power in creating this world. We'll see a purpose in his plan. Nothing that exists happened by chance. Nothing happened by undirected random events like theories of science proclaim. The Bible does not allow for the theory of evolution. So we're going to see God's creation. We're going to see in the midst of his creation, we're going to see love, his diversity and beauty. And it's going to be an incredible thing, especially when you read Genesis and look around at the world and all the incredible things that we have on our planet. That was the introduction. So let's go on. The first day, God created light. In Genesis 1:3, it says, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. This phrase, "and God said," is repeated various times in the first chapter of Genesis. And when God spoke, things were created instantly and perfectly, just as he has planned it, with purpose, with intent, with a reason. Genesis 1:3 starts off with that phrase. Psalm 33, verse 6 and verse 8 and 9 says, by the word of the Lord the heavens were made, and by the breath of his mouth all their host. Verse 8, let all the earth fear the Lord. Let all the inhabitants of the world stand in awe of him. That is the most appropriate reaction to seeing God's creation. 33:9 says, for he spoke and it came to be. He commanded, and it stood firm. The communication of the Bible is clear. God made everything that exists. God designed it. It was intent. There was no random, undirected events. God spoke light into existence. And you'll notice that in this verse 3, God had not yet created the sun, the moon, and stars. He created light itself. And he spoke, and light shone. Immediately there was light. And we ask ourselves, because we associate light with sun, moon, and stars, but there are other things in existence that produce light. Chemicals, there are creatures that produce light, bugs, insects, fish. Light doesn't only depend on the source of the sun. God created light out of absolutely nothing. Because of the power of who he is, he was able to speak it into existence. He also had absolute knowledge to be able to do this. And scientists, even today, still marvel at light, trying to understand it, all the aspects of what light is. It's an incredible thing. God created light for a purpose again. He knew we would like to have light. I mean, you think about living without light, not being able to see where you're going, not being able to see to be able to do things. Have you ever been in a place where there was absolutely no light? When I was young, I used to go into the mines in California desert. We'd go in, we'd go up a few shafts, we'd move around different areas of the mine, and we turn off our flashlight. You could not see your hand in front of your face. And it was really cool to be able to turn your flashlight back on and be able to see around you. And I would often think, what if my flashlight stopped working? I don't think I could ever get out of that mine. I think I would have killed myself trying to even go very far, going up or going down or running into a rock. Light's an awesome thing, and we absolutely need it. And God knew that, and he created it, and at least in part, for us. There's a part of that God's creation that demonstrates his love for the people he was going to create in just a few short days. Genesis 1:4 says, and God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. Again, it was good. And we find that phrase also. God spoke, and then it says that it was good. We find that various times also in Genesis. Everything that God created in the beginning was perfectly good because God is perfectly good. It was perfect. Not like the things that we make. Everything that we make, it wears out. It gets broken. It rusts. It's flawed. Everything that we do is like that. But everything that God does in its original state, everything in creation was perfect. In Psalm 18:30, it says, as for God, his way is perfect. Simple statement about God himself. And this perfection is beyond our experience. We don't understand what this perfect is. That's one way that God is above us. Genesis 1:5 says, God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and there was evening, and there was morning the first day. Again, another phrase that's repeated various times in Genesis chapter 1. There was evening, and there was morning the first day. As we read the first chapter of Genesis, the way it is written communicates literal 24-hour days. If they were long periods of time, we couldn't say evening and morning. We wouldn't say the first day. The way the Bible is communicated, that these are 24-hour days. And that's what I believe. Unless science demonstrates that this is not really true, and all the things that people have to measure thousands and millions of years, they're faulty. There's no baseline, and they're inconsistent. And I'm going to say science has not proven this to be wrong. 24-hour days. Men can't accurately measure the distant past. They can't do it. They have no baseline for being able to do it. Well, and the things that they even have are faulty. They're not consistent. So I'm going to stick with 24-hour days. And we say, oh, how could that be? And how could it happen like that? And things are so far away and light doesn't travel and all that kind of stuff. Every time we ask the question of, oh, how could that be? Let's remember who we're talking about here. We're talking about a God who can speak and cause things to exist. Is there any more power than that? So every time we ask that question, oh, how can that be? Well, God is powerful. That's how it can be. And he can speak and things happen. They have to obey because everything belongs to God. The second day, God created the atmosphere. In Genesis 1, 6 through 8, it says, and God said, there we go again, and God said, and something's going to happen. Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. And God made the expanse and separated the waters so that under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And it was so. And God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. What's happening here? We've got two areas of water and then a space in between the waters. In the original creation, this is what it appears. There was water on the earth, and there was a space, and there was another area of water, kind of like the outer edge of water, like maybe a greenhouse, something to protect the earth, an atmosphere that was different than what we have today. We don't have all the information, but in the beginning, God did something different than we see today. Water separated from water. In Jeremiah, I believe that's on the screen as well. Jeremiah 10:12 says, it is he who made the earth by his power. We say, how could it be? Well, that's how. God is powerful beyond our comprehension. He made the earth by his power, who established the world by his wisdom, and his understanding stretched out the heavens. And I say it's no wonder that scientists say Big Bang, because God stretched out the heavens in a day, one day, by his understanding. Stretched out the heaven. It was instantly there in perfect order, perfect movement, perfect circular movements that rotate, things rotate around other things. Perfect. It was all done perfectly, and apparently light was perfectly in its place from the most distant star to the earth. And so light didn't take millions of years to travel. It just, God created it instantly in the beginning. There was no millions of year period of things evolving with by random undirected events. God did it on purpose. Third day, God caused some of the water covering the earth to recede to form dry land. He created all plant life. Genesis 1, 9 and 10 says, and God said, and there we go again, and God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear, and it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the waters were gathered together, he called seas, and God saw that it was good. Good here being perfect, because God is good, God is perfect. This was the first dry land that ever appeared on the earth, and the first oceans. God formed it all. To the surface, to the depths of the oceans that we haven't even discovered everything in yet. Scientists are continually finding new life form in the depths of the ocean that God formed on this day. God was able to create all this, and because he's able to do that, he has full control over it. The power to move oceans and lands, and we look at those things as big, but to God they're not. They're small little things to him. And to do all this is not difficult for God. He's all powerful. He never gets tired. Nothing is too hard. Genesis 1, 11 to 13. It says, and God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit, and which is their seed, each according to its kind on the earth. And it was so. Everything in the beginning was designed to produce according to its kind. And as science studies all the different kinds of plant life and trees and bushes and flowers on the earth, we find complex design in everything. To the formation of flowers, for example, that we can see with the naked eye. Incredibly designed, intricate patterns that are symmetrical, things that are asymmetrical, all kinds of different varieties of things. And if we cut a slice off of a petal of a flower, for example, and look at it in a microscope, we find again at the microscopic level incredible designs of cells all working together to form the thing that we can't see with our naked eye. Incredible design we see over and over again. Species on the planet Earth, incredible design. And then in verse 113, it says, "And there was evening and there was morning the third day." Again, you don't use that kind of communication to talk about long periods of time. Periods of time don't have an evening and a morning. God communicated clearly. And this is not what happened, and God's not a very good communicator. But I believe he is, and he communicated exactly like he did it. And all these things, God created plant life to produce seed and to reproduce themselves after their own kind. Nothing ever changed into something else. Always a tree to a tree, a plant to a plant. God designed it that way from the beginning. Incredible design, but the ability to reproduce itself. God is the master designer. It's illogical to look at design and say there's an illusion of design. That's ridiculous. If you say you believe the Bible, you can't make that conclusion. God is the designer of everything that exists. Just a simple illustration, if we take a handful of marbles and we throw it on the floor and we say, you know what, I'm going to keep doing this until the marbles form a pattern of a star. We could, all of our life and multiple lives, we could throw marbles on the floor and they'll never come out to the pattern of a star. It's a little bit of a ridiculous illustration, but if we take them one by one and we glue them on the floor, nobody's going to come look at that star and say, "Ooh, that's a great accident. How many times did you have to throw those marbles to be able to come up with that?" Nobody does that. They look at this. They look at design and they conclude designer. That's exactly what we have in our creation. And God created all these plants and trees for a specific purpose. Some that look really cool and make us say, wow, and others that have food for us to eat. Everything that God made in the beginning was good. Verse 13 says, again, there was evening and morning a third day. Fourth day, God created the sun, moon, and stars. Genesis 1:14-19 says, "And God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, a fourth day. Again, God said, and it came into existence. He spoke by his own power, and it existed. He called into the existence things that did not exist. Sun, moon, and stars. All these things were created, and people who believe the Bible, they'll use this expression, with the appearance of age. Well, where do we get that? We get that from scientific theories that can't prove their own theories, because they can't measure distant past and with any kind of accuracy. The whole universe was created by God fully functional the way we see it now, the way God intended. It did not take many light years for light to travel across the universe. It was there when God created it. Light was visible from the planet Earth from the moment God created all the planets and stars in the universe. And God holds all this together by his own ability. Distance is no problem for God as he created the universe. We can only see a minute part. But scientists calculate there's somewhere between 10 and 20 billion galaxies in our universe. They can't even count, can't even see them all, and they can't even calculate with much accuracy. But it's amazing because they can look out there and they can see and they can make estimates sort of ish, and it's incredible. 10 to 20 billion galaxies, not stars, but galaxies. Jeremiah 23, 24, it says, Am I a God near at hand and not a God far off? Do I not fill heaven and earth? That's the bigness of our God. That is the God of the Bible. So again, we ask, how can that happen? Let's remember who we're talking about. God is the all-powerful God who fills heaven and earth everywhere at the same time. Nothing is too difficult for him. And he created the sun and the moon and the stars to move in specific ways that are trustworthy. We talk about this thing called time, but our understanding of time is inseparably linked to the physical world, the rotation of the earth, the earth itself rotating, and the earth rotating around the sun, and we can perfectly measure time by those things that have been created. And God, again, created this with the design, and he created it for us. We can accurately calculate where things are going to be positioned by math and with calendars far into the future, because everything is trustworthy. God created it with extreme order. He didn't create it with chaos. It's orderly. Everything that we see out in the universe has order. Everything we see in the microscopic level has order and design. Psalm 104:19 says, He made the moon to mark the seasons. The sun knows its time for setting. And it always does it, and it always does it the same way. The earth rotates around the sun, the appearance of the sun rising, and we know by science that the sun doesn't rise. The earth spins, the earth turns. But it turns with precision. We can measure it consistently for millennia. We calculate back 2,000 years to find out the positions of stars were and how they would have looked from Earth. Incredible how that can happen. God is a God of order, and that's how he created this universe. Fifth day, God created all marine life and birds. Genesis 1, 20 and 23 says, And God said, Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the heavens. And God created the great sea creatures and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarm, according to their kinds, and every winged bird according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth. And there was evening, and there was morning, a fifth day. Over and over these things are repeated in Genesis. God says, there is evening and morning, according to its kind, and it was good. Over and over we find this communication in Genesis. God had a specific design, a specific purpose, and a specific way of communicating to us. Only God could create living creatures. It's a scientific fact that life does not come from non-life. nowhere demonstrated in science anywhere ever that life can form from non-life. It can't happen. Scientific fact. Only a living being who has no beginning could cause the existence of physical life. And incredible things we find in science. Molecular biology, down into the small areas of life, things that we can't see with our eyes. So complex. We examine those things, and they're like tiny little factories they're more complicated than any machine man has ever been able to invent. Incredible living factories and machines at those microbiological levels. Incredible things. Again, not happening by random undirected events. Design implies designer. Anything else is unreasonable, untenable. I just can't go there. I can't entertain a serious conversation that says random undirected events caused life to happen. We don't observe that anywhere in science, anywhere in the observable universe. Random undirected events that never happened. Everything was created according to its kind, right from the beginning. No dog ever evolved into a horse. No fish ever evolved into an orangutan, even over the course of millions of years. No demonstration of that in science. No fossil evidence of that it ever happened even once. It's not there. And to illustrate those chain of events in the evolutionary theory, scientists say that the fossil record is of little use. Actually, it's of no use, but they will say it's of little use. They can't prove the chain of events through the fossil records, even though they have 200 billion-year-old bones. They supposedly say, they can't demonstrate any chain of events for any creature to any other creature anywhere. The evidence is not there. Sixth day, God created the animals. Genesis 1:24-25 says, "And God said, Let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kind, livestock and creeping things, and beasts of the earth according to their kinds. And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and the livestock according to their kinds, and everything that creeps on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good." God spoke. It came into existence from his life to physical life. He created it. He spoke it into existence. And after he did it, God saw that it was good. I get the feeling that those phrases are for our benefit. Perfectly done at the moment God created it. Everything perfect. Designer. It was good. 24-hour days. Morning and evening. God spoke it all into existence. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't, there we go on Genesis 1:24-25. I don't know about you, but I can't really talk well about creation without taking a look at it. So these next few slides are just tiny examples of the things that we have around us in our world. Galaxy. These are the things that scientists calculate between 10 and 20 billion in our universe. They can't, not stars, galaxies. And we are getting some credible pictures from science, but order, things evolving around other things. Incredible order we see everywhere in our creation. Sun, Earth, and the moon. The Earth is positioned perfectly away from the sun to be able to sustain life. The scientists say 2 degrees closer, 2 degrees farther away, we would all die in a very short amount of time. 2 degrees difference from distance. Incredible. Perfectly placed. And that little blue line around the Earth, our atmosphere. So far, we haven't conclusively found any other planets in our universe to have this little blue thin line around the edge of a planet that causes us to be able to keep living, that maintains our oxygen and our temperature on the planet for humans and birds and fish and everything to be able to continue to live. Incredible planet we live on. Amazing. God separated the lands, caused dry land to appear, and formed the oceans from their surface to their depth. And we're still discovering things. Beauty all throughout our creation. Incredible things. The water comes so far and it stops, and that's where it stays. The tides go in and out, immeasurable. We can calculate tides coming in, coming out, but they stay at their borders, just the way God made them. Incredible trees. These are some trees in California, redwood trees. Massive things. Flower in South America. Now, do you not look at that and say, that has a designer? I see design. I see calculated formations. Designer. How can we come to any other logical conclusion but that? There's an incredible creature, seahorse. Amazing thing. Strange, diverse, different. Largest shark in the world, absolutely harmless to the human being. Beauty in creation. Clownfish that swims among poisonous plants and it's not affected by them. Hummingbird. Can't even see these wings in real life. They're flying so fast. But what incredible design. A peacock. Accidental formation, random, undirected events? I don't think so. Life comes from life. Beautiful things in creation. Now, some people think these are our grandma and grandpa. I'm sorry, these are just other animals created on the earth. Differences, varieties, incredible. The large and the small, chameleon. Barely fits on the tip of your finger. Strange things. If you don't live in if you haven't never been to other parts of the world, you see things that you never believe would even exist. This ant is over an inch long. Terrible sting. Worse than a wasp, but incredible. All these kinds of things. How many ants are there in the world? I have no clue. Thousands of probably different kinds of ants. Oh, and cockroaches, things that we don't really like. But look at that for a second. It's intricate. It's everything on that little disgusting little insect has a purpose to cause that thing to keep living. It's incredible design. As I was preparing this lesson, I was thinking, hold on a second, Kevin, you're admiring a cockroach. But that's incredible. Oh, and I included, for those who do accept evolution, one more photo. Photoshop and evolution go really well together. I know that's offensive to some people, but sorry, I can't do it. And things didn't happen. All this complexity didn't happen through random, undirected events. It's not rational to even think that. Life comes from life. God revealed himself through through creation and his word. Psalm 19:1 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The sky above proclaims his handiwork." Incredible. We can't look at design and say appearance of design. We look at design and we say a designer, a creator, someone who is incredibly intelligent, caused all this to exist. Romans 1:20 says, "Since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, power, grandeur, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead." We look at the creation and we are without excuse to say that God does not exist. Our incredible designer made everything around us. We look at and study it, and science is awesome. I love science. It is incredible, but it takes me back to someone who is bigger than myself. God, the God of the Bible, who spoke and caused everything to exist. We're going through our study chronologically, getting through creation. We'll continue in Lesson 5 with our study of Firm Foundations, Creation to Christ. Until next time, have a good week.